Oh, Bev, this has been such a spectacle to witness here on the ground in the town of Ayodhya, but this has been decades in the coming for Narendra Modi. As a young political up-and-comer more than 30 years ago, he was leading the fight to get this temple built. Now, to give you a bit of context of this situation, there was a mosque there, the Babri Masjid Mosque. It was built in the 16th century, and in 1992, Hindu right-wing mobs stormed this town and they climbed over the brick walls of the mosque and they demolished it with their bare hands, with axes, with hammers. It was a really dark period in India's history, and that led to nationwide riots. 2,000 people died, or even more than that. Most of those people were Muslims. So this has been a really divisive part of India's history, because since that point there have been legal battles about who should own the site, what should be built there, should a mosque be rebuilt, and ultimately the highest court in India determined that a Hindu temple in dedication to the god of Ram, who some Hindus like Mr. Modi believe was born here, should be built. And that's what's happened in the last couple of hours. Here in the town now, the mood is so festive. There's celebrations, there are people emblazoned in the sacred orange colour of Hinduism, and Mr. Modi himself has made this into a major show and a really big political moment for him.
So, Avani, considering the history that you've just told us about, is this seen as a big achievement for him?
It's seen as a huge achievement, and he's come here today after fasting for 11 days. He broke that fast. A religious leader gave him some sweet milk, and he flew here via helicopter, and then he made this really impassioned speech, Bev. He spoke about this heralding in a new era for India, and he said that this temple is in the consciousness of the entirety of India, and so it really marks this Hindu nationalist agenda, this agenda that Mr. Modi and his party have been pushing, that this is a Hindu supreme state, not one which is secular, which is what India's constitution says. And there are hundreds of millions of Muslims that live in this country, tens of millions of others who follow other religions as well, who feel sidelined by those policies. You know, speaking to Muslims here in the town of Ayodhya, they've told us that they're hiding out, and they've told us they're actually worried about what will happen in the coming days, in the coming weeks, when Mr. Modi and his 12,000 security forces leave. They fear that it will be dangerous for them in the weeks and years to come, and that they feel erased by this temple opening. But Mr. Modi's made the hugest show out of this. You know, there have been rose petals scattered across this town by the nation's Air Force. India's billionaires have come here, Bollywood stars. So this is definitely a major victory for Narendra Modi.
Yeah, but as you point out, Avani, there are Indians of different faiths in this supposedly secular country who aren't happy about it. Even the opposition has not attended this event.
Yeah, and it's been such a spectrum, the kind of reaction that we've seen today and in the days leading up to this. You know, across the country, this is being live streamed. Narendra Modi's face is emblazoned across the country. In small markets, there are orange flags symbolising celebrations for this event. And of course, in this town, I've seen just the enormous joy among the Hindu spiritual leaders who've come here and the pilgrims who've flocked here. But then there are Hindu groups and religious leaders here in India and around the world who've said that Mr. Modi shouldn't have opened this temple. They've said that a religious leader should be opening it, and that the temple's actually not finished in its construction, and that this is a political ploy. And then, of course, there are people from other religions who fear what their future is in this country, a country which, since India's independence, was secular and open to people of different faiths. But this really does set the tone for Mr. Modi's campaign in the lead up to a national election later this year, and his eventual leadership, because people do believe that he'll be victorious in that election.
Yeah. You know, you can see the festivities that have gone on, and as you say, the whole town has been surrounded by, you know, has been celebrating. Were there any instances of violence, any instances of concern, you know, once this party leaves town?
That's a really key question, Bev, and it's actually one that Narendra Modi himself addressed in his speech today. He obviously appealed to his Hindu right-wing support base, but he tried to appeal to moderate ordinary Indians by saying gone are those days of the riots that we saw in the 90s, the violence between different religious groups. He said that now we're a mature India, one which does not see that sort of violence anymore. But in the hours leading up to this opening in Mumbai, which is a state south of here, there were videos circulating on social media which saw clashes between Hindu groups and people chanting glory to Lord Ram and celebrating this temple opening, and they were clashing with Muslim people. So, the fear among people and Muslims here on the ground is that those clashes will escalate, and people here in the town of Ayodhya, they're saying, well, we're worried for other mosques in this town and we're going to try to protect those as well. So obviously there's a lot of fear. Mr. Modi is confident that this is a country that's now going to be quite relaxed and won't have those tensions, and he says that this is the start of a new chapter for India.